Why do men avoid having a relationship with a woman that prefers to wait until marriage? All right, so couple things to consider here. One, you've got to understand that most men that you meet are probably not trying to be serious with you to begin with. All right. And so if they're not trying to be serious, and when I say serious, dating with the intention of this could potentially go to marriage, then to remove sex out of the equation makes the whole situation pointless for them. It's like, why would I be here with someone that's what I'm looking for if they're not going to be giving that to me? So, and I'm not saying me personally, I'm just saying that's what the guy might be thinking, all right? So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is there are some men who are genuine or open to marriage or intend to get married, but they still don't see the whole waiting till marriage to have sex as something that they want to do. Because the concern for many men is, one, again, what the argument will be made is that how do we know there's sexual chemistry? Which I do believe they're looking at it the wrong way, but this is how they perceive it. One, how do we know there's sexual chemistry? And how does that man know he's getting a woman who is willing and able to fulfill him sexually? All right? Because a lot of men hear horror stories of men who are married in sexless marriages, or, she not giving it to him like she used to and things of that nature. Now, I think the mistake a lot of men make is that they don't understand. Basically, you could have sex before marriage and still end up in a sexless marriage. All right. Because the key ingredient isn't whether you had sex or not. The key ingredient is connection. The key ingredient is communication. To me, there are ways to find out if we really have good sexual compatibility, energy with each other by simply talking to each other and being open with each other. It doesn't require us to get physically involved to figure that out. But that's not a concept that is common to a lot of men, or a lot of men fully understand. And so it's for them, they want proof. they want evidence that this is going to be worth their while. And that's why many will struggle to accept being in a relationship where they have to wait till marriage to have sex. And then I'm going to throw one more in there. And this might hurt some feelings, but this is just being honest. Sometimes it boils down to how much value they see in the woman otherwise. All right. And so essentially, this is why, if a man is madly in love with a woman. So let's say, for example, a situation where a man is friends with a woman. He falls deeply in love with his friend, right? That man probably is more than likely going to be okay with getting married before having sex. He's already fallen in love with this woman. The value he sees in her already supersedes anything sexual. The sex is like a huge bonus, but he loves her regardless. He's already into her regardless of that. But the guy who just met you, the guy who has not seen that value, or again, he's just not the guy for you, so he's not going to see that value. To him, it's, the sex becomes a bigger issue in that dynamic. And he's going to be less willing to wait because he just doesn't see enough or connect with enough value in the woman outside of that to make him be willing to sacrifice that until getting married. All right, so what if your partner pushes the issue of sex before marriage? How should you handle that? One, you handle it by let me say this. You being abstinent is between you and God. And you can't let anybody deter you from that, all right? So you got to remember that your walk with God is more important than how they perceive, what they perceive needs to happen in this relationship. So don't sacrifice that. That's number one. Number two is be open and transparent about how you feel, where you're at with it. And listen, if they're not on the same page with that, then maybe we're not in the right relationship, or maybe it's not time for us to be in this relationship. Now, I do think you also want to come into that conversation being open and willing to hear their side of, why they think this is so important. That doesn't mean you're going to change your mind. That doesn't mean sacrifice your beliefs and your values. But you don't want to be dismissive of their feelings, because that only creates resentment. You want to hear them out. What's their reasoning? Is there concern that, oh, well, if we don't have sex before marriage, how do I know it's going to be good? How do I know we're going to like each other in bed and can make this work in the long term? Let's hear it out, because once we hear the reasons, now we can address those reasons at a deeper level and see if there's a solution for it. You see what I'm saying? So have a discussion with an open mind, but ultimately do not compromise your values no matter what. All right, what if your prayers keep steering you towards someone, but you just can't seem to get a serious commitment? Every time you talk to God, the answer seems to be Him, but we can't get it right. Being patient and waiting is hard. So this is why I always say, after you ask God if someone is for you, the next question is how to proceed. Because sometimes it's the right person, wrong time. And there's a level of preparation and process that has to occur before you both can get together. And unfortunately, one of the mistakes that we make as people or as believers is that we think time is just, okay, well, let me give it a few months. Let me just live my life in these few months and then revisit this later. But you weren't actually preparing yourself in that time frame. You weren't actually taking the steps necessary to get to the end destination or to the blessing that God has for you. So you got to find out, okay, cool, it's not time yet. What do I need to be doing in the meantime? What do I need to be focused on? How do I proceed? These are the questions we have to ask while we pray so we can get the proper guidance. And yes, being patient is never easy, but it's necessary, and God's timing is always better than our timing. All right, this one says, how do you know if a long distance relationship is worth a try, especially when they live in a foreign country? Of course, praying about it is going to always be number one, right? But aside from the praying about it and listening to your spirit, one is asking yourself, can you genuinely handle it? All right, we got to be real with ourselves. Sometimes we want someone so bad that we compromise what's important to us just to hold on to them. But if you're not going to be at ease and have peace because of the distance, and there's nothing wrong with that, all right? You can love someone and accept that you cannot handle, at least right now, having to deal with a long-distance relationship. So be real with yourself about what you can handle. Two is, are they willing to do what's going to be needed to make it work? So my thing is, okay, if we're going to be long distance and we already know this is going to be hard as it is, we have to talk about what do we need in order to make this work? Meaning, okay, does that mean we need to be talking every day? Maybe Skype or FaceTime, whatever, daily? Does that mean, text messaging, WhatsApp, whatever? Like, what are the things we're going to need to make this work? As well as, how often do we get to see each other physically? Because that's the other mistake that I believe people make in long distance relationships, is that there's no plan and structure for when we will see each other. It's just, okay, we're going to play it by ear. And before you know it, it's starting to become a burden to you and starting to become a very uncomfortable situation. So there's got to be a plan of, okay, are we going to see each other once a month, once every 3 months? Is it going to be me coming to you, you coming to me? Do we alternate? We've got to discuss all of these things if we're going to see if we can make this successful. Because what if you say, hey, when are we going to see each other? And this person says, well, listen, I know I'm not going to be able to travel anywhere for the next year. And you're like, well, I can't travel either for the next year. Now you guys know if you do this, you're going to have to go at least a year without seeing each other. And if you know you can't handle that, all right, you know what? We don't need to be in a long distance relationship right now. Maybe when the year is up, we can talk about it, because now we'll be in a position where we can travel and see each other. But until then, let's leave this alone, because clearly we're not going to be able to make this work. All right, when someone asks you out but says he wants to, quote unquote, go with the flow and see where it goes because his plans never work out, how should you approach it? All right, so I'm going to be real. When a guy says let's go with the flow, 90% of the time, he's not looking for nothing serious. All right. Chances are he's just trying to have fun. He doesn't want any expectations placed on him and obligation. So let me say this. If you, not saying you should, but if you as a grown adult are okay with that, and meaning you're okay with a casual situation, that is your choice to make. But do not go with the flow thinking, okay, let me just let this drag along, thinking this is going to magically turn into something serious. It's not that it couldn't, it's just not likely. And that's why I think the better approach is, if he doesn't know what he wants and you know what you want, then don't entertain it. Because it is too risky, and it is more than likely going to turn into you being hurt and disappointed by the situation. And when he tells you in the beginning, let's go with the flow, and I have no serious, essentially he's saying I have no serious intention, at least at this moment, then projecting anything onto him serious is a huge mistake. So I would say leave it alone. Again, if what you're looking for is something real and something serious. And even if you're not, I still think you got to be careful with stuff like that. Again, take advantage of my coaching program, receivingmyblessings.com. You can click the link in the description or in the comment section. All right, so this question says, do you think giving your woman the alarm code and having her at your home is all you have to do to show that you're committed to the relationship? No. I think that's nice, a nice gesture. I think it communicates a level of commitment, but I think more so it's about what you're pouring into that woman emotionally, and how she feels secure around you emotionally. Now, listen, I think it's important to understand that there's only so much a man can do. Meaning some women, and if you are that woman, you have to be honest with yourself about that. Some women are carrying baggage from previous relationships into their new relationship. And their insecurities are built from their trauma and not necessarily what this new man is doing or not doing. So we have to recognize the difference between someone who is already insecure coming in, or who is feeling a lack of security due to current behavior. There's a huge difference there, because there are some men who bend over backwards to show their woman they are committed, they're open, they're transparent, everything, and yet she is still questioning this man constantly. That's a very unhealthy situation, and that's a situation where the man can no longer do he has to draw a line and say, enough. I've done my part. Now you gotta figure out what's going on within you that won't allow yourself to still trust me and believe that I'm into you and I'm in it for the long run. All right, so I feel the need to respond to this one. It says, how do you not feel like a failure after 2 marriages? So, a joke I've made with a lot of my clients who've been married 2-3 times. I'm like, listen, if you got 2 people to marry you, you did something right. Like, you got some kind of skills here that you were able to pull it off twice. So pat yourself on the back because clearly there's a level of value that people are seeing. Not saying that those who are not married don't have any skills, but I'm just saying, like, you're not a bad person because you've been married twice. I think that rather than view yourself as a failure, you have to learn from your mistakes. And you have to ask yourself, okay, why have I ended up in 2 divorces? Why have I selected 2 people who were not for me to be in a relationship with? And how can I improve on my decision-making process? How can I improve on my selection process? Do not dwell in the mistake. We all make mistakes. We all have quote-unquote failures. They say all the time that the most successful people have failed over and over and over again. So failure is a part of the process, but it's about what we do with that, how we learn from it, how we grow rather than dwelling in it. So forgive yourself. Do not beat yourself up. You know what I'm saying? Find the lessons, get better, do better, and start seeing better results. All right. How should a woman handle a relationship with a man that works 2 jobs and doesn't have quality time to give to the relationship? This may sound harsh to some people, but what I feel the need to say is that you handle it by not being in the relationship. Now, listen, I know that did not sound good and that may not be what you wanted to hear, but I think, again, this is another situation where we have to be honest with ourselves about what we can handle and be happy with. Now, listen, if there's a woman out there who can have a man working 2 jobs, barely giving her time, and still be happy as hell and she's good, all right, cool, go with it. But if you know that the lack of time or the time he is unable to give you is eating away at you, is going to make you irritated and agitated, it's going to cause you to have an attitude, it's going to cause you to feel less fulfilled, it's going to create a void to where now you may seek unhealthy measures to fill that void, then we should not even be in that relationship. We just have to be real about what we can and cannot handle, what we are and are not willing to accept. And rather than trying to force the issue, sometimes it's just not time. Again, even if you feel like he's the guy for you, maybe it's just not time. Maybe when he can learn to have better life-work balance, then we can revisit this. But until then, we don't need to force it, because all you're going to do is create a situation where things go left and things will end up even worse than ever. When you keep having continuous flashes or thoughts about a particular guy, doesn't mean he's the right one. Like, the thought of this guy is always coming to your mind. Not necessarily. Sometimes our struggle to get over someone, forget someone, stop thinking about someone is due to attachment. So again, not to sound like a broken record, but this is where you got to go deeper within the spirit. You got to talk to God. You got to see, okay, what's really going on here? Why are they on my mind? And also, I think a big part of it is making sure you've healed. And so a big part of healing is getting things off your chest. I think what people don't realize is when you don't get everything off your chest about situations, it allows that situation to linger. And whatever was involved in it lingers in your mind with it. All right. So some of you are still thinking about that man because you're still hurting from the sacrifice you made trying to be with him. You're still disappointed about how it turned out. And so because you have not expressed that fully, that frustration, that disappointment, that hurt, it stays with you, and the thought of him stays with you as well. Now, again, could it possibly be that he is the guy? Could it possibly be connection? Yes. So I'm not dismissing that potential. But what I am saying is we should not jump straight to that. We've got to make sure we do the deeper work first. Again, connecting with spirit, healing, getting things off our chest. That needs to happen, and then you will be able to see a lot clearer if this is something real here or just, again, a product of unhealthy attachment and unresolved issues. After 8 months of dating, he won't go on a getaway vacation with me. Is that a red flag? Well, my first question is he broke? Like, what's the reason he don't want to go on vacation? Is it he doesn't have a passport? Is it that he doesn't have money? Is it like, oh, well, you're offering to pay and he's like, nah, I'm not trying to go on your dime? Like, we got to understand what's the deeper reason. Is it that he doesn't want to go where you want to go? Some people aren't into traveling like that. Some people are homebodies. So I'm not going to call it a red flag because I need more information to understand what is his reasoning for not wanting to go. We got to go deeper. And if you don't know what his reasoning is, I think you need to have that discussion to better understand where he's coming from and why he's making this decision currently. And then we can determine if it's a red flag or not. All right, I got to read this comment. It says, but we should also stop sugarcoating stuff and admit that everything is not always happiness and rainbows. Everyone has problems. You have to get through it and get over it or end it. So yes, everything is not always going to be smooth and sweet. But I think we also have to be real with ourselves. Is the majority... So here's the goal has to be this. It won't always be great, but is the majority of the time great? And then we have our bad moments. Or is the majority bad and then we have our good moments? If the majority of the relationship is problems, arguing, issues, and we have our good moments sprinkled here and there, that is a relationship that needs to end. We should not make excuses for that kind of relationship and saying, oh, well, everyone has problems. Yes, but if it's constant, that's a huge issue. That's a huge deal. We can't ignore that. But if we're having a great overall relationship, and then there's going to be moments and times where we have our struggles, yes, we work through that. But again, we also have to recognize, are we with someone who's even willing to work with us? Some people are trying to work on it by themselves. Some people are trying to work on it, dragging the partner along with them. Some people are trying to work on it by actually ignoring it. So they're saying, oh, well, everybody goes through problems. Okay, but what are y'all doing to fix it? If you're not doing anything, then why are we still here? You know what I'm saying? We got to be real with it. And we got to be real when we're simply in the wrong relationship. Listen, a lot of people, I want to say majority, but I'm just going to say a lot. A lot of people know they're in the wrong relationship. But they want to give up all kinds of excuses to validate staying there. And I'm not saying that you who made this comment is making that, because I don't know what your situation is. But some people use the line of everyone has problems to make an excuse to stay in a BS relationship, to stay with someone they know they don't belong with. We got to stop doing that too. You know what I'm saying? So we can recognize there's going to be bumps in the road for everybody. But are you going to that bump with the right person? Are you going to that bump with someone you have a real connection with? Are you going to that bump with someone where there's genuine, real love with? Or are you just trying to tolerate and get through the next day with someone that you should have never crossed that line with? Okay, we got to discuss this. This one says, help. I've been dating a man for almost 2 years. He is in love and ready to get married. I'm not. I love him, however, I'm not in love. Now what? All right, so I'm going to give you my honest belief. You're probably not going to like it, or maybe you will. I don't know. But here it is. You need to let it go. You need to leave him. You need to end the relationship. And the reason why I say this is because if we were able to talk one-on-one, I'm pretty sure you knew from day one you weren't into this man like that. But for whatever reasons, you allowed yourself to entertain it and to go along with it. It's 2 years in. You're still not there. And I'm not surprised because, again, you can't, like I said earlier, we don't really grow to fall in love with somebody. We may grow to tolerate them and become attached, but true love doesn't manifest over time. It's very quick. So the thing is, it ain't going to come a year later, 4 years later. This isn't going to get better. This isn't going to improve. And if you're not feeling at peace with it now, then again, why waste his or your time any further? No good is going to come out of this if we just continue and try to keep kicking the can down the road. You have to accept that your heart's not there. And as I said earlier, if you are not in love with him, then I don't view what he perceives as being in love as truly being in love. I think that he's attached. I think maybe infatuated, whatever. And I'm not saying he does not love you, but clearly there's not a genuine connection there because you're not feeling it. All right. And so, again, I think you need to be honest with him. I think it would be best to walk away. And though there may be a fear of hurting him by doing that, you're only hurting him more by staying with him when you're unable to give him what he wants, what he needs, what he's looking for in this relationship. How open should a woman be in the beginning of dating? It says, I take it slow but honest. So I'm a firm believer that we shouldn't restrict ourselves, so to speak. We should just be honest and transparent and flow with the situation. Because, I mean, listen, here's the thing. If two people meet tomorrow and they feel this instant connection, those two people are more than likely going to share a lot about themselves in that first conversation than they may share with anybody else. All right? Time does not determine when we should open up. It's a matter of, okay, if it's there, embrace it. If it's not, okay, we move on. But we shouldn't play this calculated game of, well, let me not say too much. Like, all we're doing is wasting time in being able to see if this is real or not. Being able to see it for what it is. If we're restricting ourselves and not being open and transparent, then how can we properly evaluate what we have with this person if they really connect with our true, genuine selves? We would do ourselves a bigger favor by being open from the jump, and that way it's easier to see, oh, okay, it ain't here, it ain't gonna work. Let's keep it moving, let this person go, move to the next. Can a person with narcissistic qualities change? Are these people going to keep damaging every woman they go with? If a person lies and cheats in a relationship, is that considered toxic? Can they change? All right, so one, anybody can change. Anybody, it's capable or possible for people to change. Will they change? We can never say for sure, because some people go to their grave not healing from their past issues and traumas that lead to this dysfunction. So that person can change if they address their deeper rooted issues, because narcissistic people are damaged, hurt people. They're not just something in their DNA that makes them narcissistic and there's nothing that can change. No, it stems from, again, unresolved issues. And so if they do that, you can see a difference. And I've seen people be narcissistic in one relationship and then be completely different in another relationship. So it can happen. Now, when you ask if someone lies and cheats in a relationship, is that considered toxic? Yes, it is considered toxic. Anything that is unhealthy, damaging, consistently hurtful in a relationship, it creates toxic energy in that relationship and can derail the entire relationship. So absolutely it is. Unless that's what y'all cool with, which I don't know of anybody who's cool with being lied to and cheated on, you know what I'm saying? Then it definitely is a toxic thing. And to the person who's saying the books are amazing, put them on audible.com. They are on audible.com. Just search Stephan Speaks or Stephan Labossiere on there, and you should see the options for my books on Audible as well. And if you are interested in any of my other books, you can go to my shop, stephanspeaksshop.com. All right. What about if he told you he doesn't want the relationship on social media? I don't want to. There's various reasons why a guy may say that. It could be good. It could be bad. I think what you have to do is you have to try to talk to him and find out, okay, what's his reasoning for that? What is his motivation for not wanting it on social media? So, for example, I would not be someone who puts my relationship all on social media. I think social media can become a very toxic place. I don't think there's any need for that. But I understand that some people may feel like, well, you're hiding something. But that's not always the motivation or intention by someone who says they don't want it on social media. So we have to start looking at, okay, what is their reasons? Also, what does the overall relationship look like? Because my thing is this: if a man tells you, I don't want the relationship on social media, right? But then outside of that, his communication is bad. You have a lack of trust with him. There's other issues. Why are we focused on the social media issue? We should be focused on the poor behavior issue. Like, that's what needs to be corrected. And if it's not, social media or not, he needs to go. Now, if let's say the scenario is the relationship is amazing. He does everything he's supposed to do. And the one thing that I guess doesn't sit well with you is he doesn't want it on social media. And he can explain to you why. Then I think in that scenario, we have to at least give the benefit of the doubt. Now, unless your intuition and spirit is telling you something different, I'm never going to tell you to ignore your intuition. But outside of that, you got to give benefit of the doubt if everything else is great and that's the only issue. But again, ultimately, the reasons why can vary. You have to talk to that man about what is his reason behind it. All right, so this person says, I had a man 14 years older, had a connection, soulmates, best friends, fantastic lovers, but you ended it out of fear. And now you struggle as you feel that he's the one God chose for you, but now he's with a woman more his age, and you fear you won't find this again. So listen, I'm sorry to hear that you went through that. And believe it or not, this is very common. A lot of people come across that person they have a connection with, and out of fear and other issues, they run away from it. the key thing now is this. We don't know how things will play out, but you have to focus on what you need to be doing in the meantime. So you operated out of fear. Now we got to operate out of faith. And out of faith, not in the sense of just believing it will work out, but now going to God and asking God, okay, how does he want you to proceed here? What should you be doing? Because for all you know, let's just say, for example, we fast forward 7 months later, and in 7 months, this man is back to being single and available. But if you, in these 7 months, don't take the time to address and correct the deeper issues within you that led to the fears that caused you to not be able to handle it, then even if he comes back around, you will still not be able to handle it. So you can't, you got to be intentional with how you go about the process. And you do that by now letting God guide you through it. And know this, if this guy, if it's not meant to work out with this man through God's guidance, then God will give you something better. That may be hard to believe right now, but it can happen. But it all starts with learning from the mistake. The mistake was you let fear get the best of you. You did not let God guide you. Let's now address the fear. Let's now let God guide us, and you will get what is best for you. All right, this person says, no, you can grow with someone. Do not confuse growing with someone with growing to love them or growing to be in love with them. So yes, there is a process of growing with someone when we're in a relationship, because we evolve as people and things change. And that's why it's important to have a genuine connection, because that's what allows us to grow together successfully. But the perception of growing to love them is a very unhealthy mindset. It's a very damaging approach in a lot of situations. And the idea of growing to be in love with them, I do not believe that exists at all. Because again, genuine, real love connection is something that people experience very quickly. It does not. And so look at it like this. If you believe, and it all depends on what some people believe, but this is what I believe, and I say with confidence, I know this to be true. If we accept that a genuine, real connection is a spiritual thing, where essentially it's like our spirit recognizing our match, right? Or that we understand, even if you don't see it in that way, we understand that God knows who is best for us, right? Even if you don't believe that there's a set person, God knows who's best for you. Well, do you think God needs 6 months to tell you this is for you, someone for you? Do you think God needs a year before he says this is the person? No, he already knows. The spirit already knows. It knew immediately. The problem is we're just not in tune with it. And then we're not also mindful of what we need to do before we move forward in a relationship with that individual. But again, when the majority of people say I can grow to love them, what they're saying is, I'm not really into them, but I don't want to let them go. So I'm going to hold on to them under the belief that I can at some point make this work or get used to this person enough that I'll want to stay. And that's not good. That's not healthy at all. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. If you want to know who's truly for you, if you want to make the right decision as far as who you embrace into your life, then it's going to start with getting more in tune with